Welcome back to the NSCA Women's Committee Mentor Training video series. Let's get started. As a mentor, a big part of your role will be giving feedback. Depending on the circumstance, this sometimes can be an easy task, while other times it might be more difficult. In this next video, we will discuss some strategies for giving appropriate feedback. We'll also discuss the idea of having a growth mindset and what that means for you and for your mentee. So what is a growth mindset? This might be a term you're familiar with, or maybe you've never heard of it. This idea of a growth mindset is something that we want both you and your mentee to adopt, so let's define the term before going any further. A growth mindset is the belief that your talents can be developed through hard work. It's the ability to embrace challenges and learn from feedback. The opposite of this would be a fixed mindset, which rests on the idea that talents are innate traits that cannot be changed. A growth mindset is about valuing the process, whereas a fixed mindset focuses solely on the outcome. This makes the biggest difference when we look at how we view failures. In a growth mindset, failure is perceived as an opportunity to grow, whereas in a fixed mindset, failure indicates the limit of your abilities. Inevitably, there will be moments within this mentorship where your mentee is faced with some type of struggle. This likely will be highlighted in some way through your feedback or criticism. We've challenged our mentees through their training videos to open themselves up to a growth mindset in order to allow for greater growth when these tough moments do arise. As a mentor, we hope you will encourage this mindset within your mentee as well. It is also our hope that you yourself would enter this experience with a growth mindset. It's very possible that you also could find yourself working through and learning from moments of challenge at some point during this process. Consider what having a growth mindset might look like for you and how that could benefit your learning experience. In an effort to promote a growth mindset, we want to focus on effort and actions rather than outcomes alone. Two things that you can do to push this initiative are to acknowledge when your mentee does something positive and to applaud the process. Positive reinforcement is a known tactic for helping ourselves or someone else in reaching a goal. So when you notice things are going well, make sure to verbalize that to your mentee. On the flip side, it's important that we know what our response should be when failures do occur. As mentioned previously, if we adopt a growth mindset, then we recognize that moments of failure are simply opportunities to grow. These moments should be catalysts, not limitations. When challenges or struggles arise, help your mentee to recognize how they can still benefit from that circumstance. We want to help them see how that experience can still be a driver for progress towards their goals. Think back to some of those teachers in school who you felt like taught you the most. What were some common practices in their classroom? I would guess that rather than simply teaching the lesson, then sitting down at their desk, your teacher probably asked questions to the class or to specific individuals to reinforce that you learned what was taught. This is a reflection tactic that helps solidify the learned information in the student's mind. In this mentorship, we want you to do the same. Promoting intentional reflection can be as simple as asking, "What was your takeaway from this session?" By asking them to reciprocate to you what they learned, it forces a moment of reflection on all the information that was given. This allows your mentee to develop a deeper awareness of what they're learning and how they're growing over time. In this mentorship experience, we believe that learning is not just limited to the mentees. With the right mindset, mentors have the opportunity to expand not only their networks, but also their knowledge and experience through this opportunity. So how do you do this? Simply reframing the opportunity can open you up to a wealth of gain from this mentorship. Rather than only looking for ways that you can impose your knowledge on the mentee, look for areas where you can learn from them and their experiences. When you begin looking at the connection between yourself and your mentee as a symbiotic relationship, you are invited into an exchange of ideas, which ultimately leads to richness of learning for all who are involved. Our last piece of advice for giving appropriate feedback can be summed up in a simple mantra. If you think it, say it. If you say it, write it. If you write it, follow up on it. This process helps us to be intentional in our thoughts when working with our mentees. It also helps us to remember those thoughts of both criticism and encouragement, and it pushes us to return back to those thoughts after a period of time. Now that you've learned about best practices for giving feedback, we want to conclude with a final reflection. Take some time to answer these 3 questions before moving on to the next video. What are my takeaways from this video? What information do I still have questions about? Has this video sparked any new questions or ideas that I should investigate further?